Kelly, you've been courted and offered by a lot of other schools before now. What was it about Oregon and this time that made you finally decide to leave Gonzaga and come to Eugene?
Well, Oregon's always been the school that I've admired the most from outside. You know, Oregon's a special place to me and my family. It was where I got my first Division I job. It's where I met my wife, got married, had our first children. So, you know, we've always, it's my wife's home state, so we've always kind of related to the state. And this is obviously the flagship university of the state. And then, quite frankly, you know, at Gonzaga, we had built up, you know, obviously an amazing program, and I was to a point in my career where I was finally looking for maybe something different. The other opportunities just came at the wrong time, and this just all synced up, and so that's why I believe that it was the right place at the right time.
What can Oregon offer you that some of these other places couldn't?
Well, I think the brand. I mean, it's a top 5, top 10 national brand. I think everybody knows the O. And the fact that they've been successful, or we've been successful in lots of different sports, I think just shows that it can be done here. There's no question about it. The resources that we have, you know, in the women's basketball program are incredible. The arena, the facilities, you know, everything I think works. And so we have a chance, I think, to be a national program, and that's what we're in it to do.
The program hasn't been to the NCAA tournament since 2005. What's your plan to turn things around on the court? How do you get the program back to the tournament?
Well, first it takes players. You know, I'd like to think that I have some magical formula. I think we can obviously coach them up and play better, but it really takes players. That's critical. And we have some good pieces here now, but we need to continue to get better and better players. So recruiting is a must. You know, I think the style of play is going to be similar in some respects. I do like a fast pace, and we've been pretty good offensively over the years at my former school. But defense is where we really need to make strides and do better, because later in the NCAA tournament, your defense is what is tested. So, yeah, we're gonna do the things that we need to do, obviously, to make this better, and I think we can. We have the players right now to improve.
You mentioned the style of play. This group of girls here was recruited to run the system, which is an offensive-based style of play. You talked about them playing defense. How do you get a group that is put together for an offensive reason to play defense?
Well, I believe that if you're talented enough to do the things they've been able to do offensively, you're talented enough and athletic enough to do that defensively. You know, it's a mindset. You know, you just gotta, players have to buy into it. They have to believe in each other and play for each other and for the coaches as well. So, you know, it's got to become part of our culture. You know, we're not going to be known just for great offensive basketball. We're going to be efficient offensively, but we need to play both sides of the court. And so, you know, early on, I hope that that's our signature. That means we're doing something right.
At Gonzaga last year, you guys averaged around 5,000 fans per game. Here at Oregon, it was about 1,000 fans a game. There's a big difference there. How do you build the fan support and get people out to Oregon women's basketball games?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's about, you know, the quality of play. You know, people aren't going to come out and see a bad product, so we need to make sure that that product is good. I think, you know, just the ability to feel like, you know, fans are a part of our program, I think is critical. We want to make our players accessible. As coaches, I want to be accessible and available for anybody who's interested in our program. And I think thirdly, fans, you know, they appreciate hard work. You know, players that give their all, that look like they're playing for each other and playing the right way. So those are the things that we want to do and you know, to put our stamp on the program and change the culture, so to speak.
This is your first time at a university that has a football team, and this is a football town, especially now, especially in the past 5 years. In Spokane, at Gonzaga, that's a basketball school. It's a basketball town. How do you change that? That obviously brings some challenges in bringing fans to the game, because this is a football place. How do you get people, how do you convert it to being more of a basketball place?
Well, I'm actually really looking forward. I have never coached in 25 years at a school that had football. So this is something new to me, and I'm really looking forward to it, because for years we got hammered in recruiting on the fact we didn't have a football team. So we're going to use that as a plus. I think that's tremendous. And, you know, quite frankly, I think you can build, you know, we're going to build our own fan base, and the people are going to get excited about us and what we're doing. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of crossover fans, obviously, because everybody around here are Duck fans. But and I'm a believer in relativity. When the football team is successful, the men's basketball team, the softball team, all the other sports that we have here, when they're successful, that's going to help us. It's going to help us in recruiting. It's going to help us in visibility. It's going to help keep that brand, one of the nation's best.
What do the recruits say about not having football? What do they want? I guess why do players want football?
It's funny, and that's something that I struggled with for years. It's like you're going to choose somewhere because they have a good football team. It shouldn't really matter. And we were obviously able to get the kind of players that, they bought into that. But I think just the excitement that brings, because the fall is when you do the bulk of your recruiting as a basketball coach, and just the ability to have them and see the excitement that surrounds Oregon, the University of Oregon, I think is critical in recruiting, because that's what sells. And players, they want to be a part of that, that kind of family, as well as a close-knit basketball family. So that's what we're striving to do here.
One of the first things you did was put together a staff, and that staff includes Mark Campbell, who was the associate head coach at Oregon State. How do you think people are going to react to hiring away the lead assistant from your rival school?
Well, I didn't look at it in those terms, and what people feel, that's up to them. I can't concern myself with that, and Mark can't either. I know that he's had some people that might be disappointed in that decision, but the reality is I looked at up and down the West Coast, who's the best assistant coach out there? And in my opinion, it was Mark Campbell. And, number one, he knows the Pac-12. Even though I know most of the programs, have played a lot of them, he knows it intimately and what the other coaches are about in the other programs. He's great at skill development, and he's a terrific recruiter. So when you look at everything, he's a whole package, and he's a very moral and ethical guy. And so it was a no-brainer. And when I'm putting together a staff that, who's trying to build something, big time here, you go out and get the best people you can. And I feel in Mark, that's what we got.
What does he bring as an assistant to the program?
Oh, integrity, hard work, a known commodity. I mean, people know him. Recruits respect him. We went head to head with Oregon State on a lot of players, and we got some and they got some. And he was an integral part in getting the ones that they did get. So, he's great. He's going to be terrific, and he's the kind of person that never has a bad day. He's always upbeat and enthusiastic, and I love that. And I think we share the same vision.
Jody Berry is coming with you from Gonzaga. In the release, you called her your right-hand person for the past few years. Who's going to be your lead assistant? Is it going to be Mark, who is an associate head coach at Oregon State? Is it going to be Jody? We
never worry about that kind of stuff. Nobody works for me or for anybody. We all work with each other. My wife says it best, when she and I sometimes differ on how to discipline the boys. I have 3 boys. She always looks at me and says, honey, we're on the same team. So to me, we're all on the same team. We're all in it together, and I've never numbered my staff. Jody knows me really well outside of my wife, probably knows me better than anybody, and maybe even better than Mary does, because we spend so much time together. But she's terrific, absolutely terrific, a great offensive mind, and really tough. You don't get anything by her, which is great.
Nicole Powell, the 3rd member of your coaching staff, she's playing in the WNBA this summer. That can affect recruiting, I would think, a couple ways, because she's going to be playing in the WNBA, so she can't be on the road. But you also have a WNBA player on your staff, which I imagine is pretty attractive to recruits. How will you use that as a selling point to get players to come here?
Well, the kind of players we want to attract here are the kind of players that want to play in the WNBA. And what better than to have someone who's been there and done that? And this will be her 11th year, and last year. She's going to make the change over to full-time coach for good now. Instant credibility. I mean, she, again, another person with a great personality, super smart, and understands how to deal with people, and I love that about her. But twice the Pac-12 Player of the Year, 3-time All-American, Stanford pedigree, so a lot of success there, and then the WNBA success. So she's the whole package, and what she's really good at are one-on-one relationships, and she loves working players out and giving her expertise. And she sees the game differently than I can, because I haven't coached a lot of pros, and she's been there and done that. So I think with the whole staff, we've kind of covered every base.
Do you have a plan to make up for the loss of her playing professional basketball this summer and not being able to be here and recruiting and developing?
Yeah, I mean, the summer is a critical time, but it's more critical that we have her here in the fall. So she'll be back early September, late August, depending on which team she's playing for. Sometimes they get traded and they may not make the playoffs. Last year, she actually got to Gonzaga a little early because her team wasn't very good. They didn't make the playoffs. But, you know, obviously we'll miss not having her around, but, you know, the rules say that until she's hired, you know, on campus full-time, we can actually have a fourth recruiter out. So it won't hurt us in terms of summer recruiting and things like that. But obviously we'd love to have her here as often as possible, but that's just not reality.
The state of Oregon has had some of the best players in the country the past few years. Multiple McDonald's All-Americans. Mercedes Russell, the #1 player in the nation a couple years ago, played at Springfield High, right next door. How do you keep the best players in the country that come from this state in state? Because the past few years, they've all left.
Yeah, it's been a golden era here. Well, you give them a reason to want to stay. You know, and I think that we can give them that reason. You know, they want to go to a place that is going to be nationally known, where they're going to have a chance to be seen and play for national championships or Final Fours, or at least deep in the NCAA tournament. And that's the kind of program that we want to have. We want to be able to attract those recruits so that when special players come through Oregon, you know, they're not going to just discount us. And that's my job.
I understand that your youngest son, Will, is a Beaver baseball fan.
Yeah.
We talked about your plan to turn around this program on the court. How do you turn around Will's fandom and turn him into a Duck baseball fan?
You know what? He's coming down for the spring game next week. I got a feeling he's going to turn quick. Yeah, he's always, you know, he's a good little baseball player. He's a good little athlete. And, you know, we have good friends that live in Lebanon, and they are Beavers. And so he's, you know, just always kind of embraced them. But he knows the game. He'll be on board quick enough.
Have you had a chance to interact with other coaches here at Oregon and talk to some of the other programs, the people in charge of the other programs?
You know, yes, I have. And I look forward to doing it more, because right now I'm just kind of a whirlwind. I'm going here, there, and everywhere. But almost every coach has come up and introduced themselves, and you can tell when it's genuine and when it's fake, and they're great. I mean, everybody here has been amazing, and you can tell that it's a very healthy culture at the university and in the athletic department.
There's been a lot of success specifically from women's sports. Softball is currently ranked #1. Volleyball was in the national championship match a couple years ago. Of course, the track team, 5 straight indoor national titles. We all know about how successful the track program is. What can you learn from the success from those other women's programs here at Oregon to bring to this program as you try to turn it around?
Well, I'll probably take a little bit from everybody. I love to pick people's brains and find out what makes them successful. But it also is just a testament that it can be done here. You know, there can be a lot of success here at the University of Oregon, and I'm really looking forward to that challenge.
Recently, Charlie Strong at Texas said that they're not going to win the national championship this year, and people were kind of like, ooh, you know, it was a realistic, I think, version of, or at least vision of the process that it takes when you get to a new school. What is your ideal timeline for getting this program back to being a contender of the Pac-12 and back to being in the NCAA tournament? Well,
obviously, like any coach, you want to do it as quickly as possible. But I realize that, you know, we're behind, and we've got to catch up. And there are a lot of programs right now ahead of us. So I'm not going to put a timeline on it, but I'll tell you what, I think we're going to be the kind of program that will make strides and make strides quickly. That's what I'm hoping to do. All I can worry about is our first game in this first season, and just be as good as we can, and then build from there. But we're going to recruit hard. We're going to work the 2015-2016 classes hard, and try to get it done that way early.